There has been a consistent increase of petroleum prices, especially for the last 20 days on a consecutive basis. The petroleum prices, the prices of petrol and diesel have been rising. Well, it is rather surprising that at the point of time when the government needs to put money into the hands to spur spending, to create demand in the economy, the governments are taxing the people again and again so that they are squeezed off whatever meager earnings they have. So this it's an absolutely an exercise that will hit the process of economic recovery. Let's at least see the logic behind this kind of a massive hike. The petroleum prices were under administered pricing mechanism up to 2002. In 2002, the then Atal Bihari Vajpayee-led NDA government has lifted administrative pricing mechanism and linked the domestic prices of petrol and diesel to that of the international prices of crude. So this was the decision which was taken in 2002, and the subsequent Congress governments have also gone ahead with the policy of deregulation of petroleum prices, which essentially means that the prices of petrol and diesel will be linked to the trends in the international market. What has been promised to us is very simple. If the prices in the international market increase, the prices in the domestic market also will increase. If the prices decline in the international market, then the prices in the domestic market also will decline. So the consumer will have to pay more if the price increases in the global market, and consumer can pay less if the prices decline. So this was the promise which was given to us. The logic and the rationale behind it is 80% of our crude oil requirements are met through imports. Therefore, it is not possible for the oil marketing companies or even the government to bear the burden of the gap between international crude oil prices and the domestic prices of petroleum and gas. Well, assuming that this kind of a market logic is acceptable, then at least the government should follow that market logic. I will give a small example. In the last time when the petrol and diesel prices, retail prices in the domestic market were as high as they exist today was in October 2018. So the prices of petrol and diesel which we pay as a consumers were similar to the levels which were existing in October 2018. But the price of crude oil in the international market in October 2018 was $65 per barrel. Now it is hovering around $35 per barrel. Why should the domestic price of petrol and diesel should be similar when the price has come down so drastically, almost by 50%, very $65 per barrel, very $35 per barrel. I will give you another piece of statistics. According to the research done by the PRS Legislative Research, which tracks the functioning of the parliament, between 2013 and 2016-17, the international crude oil prices have plummeted by 42%. So there has been a dip to the extent of 42% in the global crude oil prices. But during this period, the price of petrol in the domestic market for the retail consumer increased by 8%, and for the diesel, the increase was to the tune of 33%. So when there was a 42% decline in the crude oil prices in the global market, why should the diesel prices increase by 33% in the domestic market? So these two statistics reveal the picture that there is no link between the global market and the Indian consumer. The only link is whenever the prices of crude in the global market increase, on that pretext the burden is levied on the consumer. But when the global oil prices decline, the benefit did not accrue and is not accruing to the retail consumer like you and me. Why is this happening? This is happening precisely because the governments have been imposing taxes left, right and center. So because they are increasing the taxes, So obviously the benefit of the low crude oil prices has been snatched away by the governments. So this is the reason why there is no pro-consumer link between the global crude oil prices and the prices of crude oil in the domestic market. Since 2019 itself, there has been a 45% fall in the global crude oil prices. You will be surprised to know that in 2014, when Narendra Modi became the Prime Minister, the price of the crude oil in the global market was $106.85 per barrel. That means around $107 per barrel. Now it is $35. In fact, in May it has even declined to the level of $20 per barrel also. But surprisingly, the prices of domestic retail price of petrol and diesel has not significantly decreased at all. In fact, it has been increasing now. So this shows the reason for the higher increase and who is responsible for the rise in petrol prices. It is not the global market forces, it is our own governments which are squeezing the people of this country. Well, then the question comes, well, it is the state governments which are doing, not the center. So the blame should be taken by the state governments. This is the logic of Bharatiya Janata Party. I will give you the figures. It's a fact that both the central government taxes petrol and diesel and the state government taxes. But who is benefiting from this taxation? I will give you an example. According to the PRS legislative wing, so the PRS legislative research, between 2014-15 and 2018, so in this period, the price of the annual increase in the revenues from petroleum for the central government was to the tune of 46%. So every year central government revenues have been increasing by 46%. Whereas the state revenues have increased annually at the rate of 9%. State revenue from petroleum products. So what does it indicate? So the center has disproportionately benefited from the higher petroleum taxes compared to the state governments. I will give you another example. In 2016-17, according to the Reserve Bank of India State of Finances report, petroleum products constituted, taxes on petroleum products, constituted 15.4% of the total revenues of the states. In 2018-19, this declined to 12%. So, which also reveals that the center has disproportionately benefited from the higher petroleum taxes. I will give you another example, another piece of statistics. This is exactly the quoted from the Petroleum Policy and Planning and Petroleum Planning and Policy Analysis Cell. So this is actually a department under the Ministry of Petroleum, Government of India. So according to Petroleum Planning and Analysis Cell of the Government of India, so in 2014-15, the central government were getting 52% of the total petroleum taxes on petroleum products in the country. States were getting 48%. This ratio has changed to 64% for the center, 36% for the states in 2016-17. In 2018-19, the share stands at 60:40. So, which means central government gets 60% of the total petroleum taxes and the states get 40%. In fact, subsequent to the 2018-19, central government has imposed special duties, road cess, which will not be shared with the states. So now it will be more than 60%. So this is the mathematics behind the petrol taxes. So it is hypocrisy on the part of the central government to argue that the states are more responsible for the higher petroleum prices today. But it is reality is that it is the central government which is doing it. Well, the central government may argue, well, we have increased the share to states from 32% to 42% as per the Finance Commission recommendation. Is it true? Technically speaking, it is true. So the devolution share has been increased by 10% from 32 to 42%. But I am quoting the Reserve Bank of India report of September 2019, which said the additional increase in the devolution share due to Finance Commission recommendations is neutralized, emphasis added, is neutralized by the higher levy of cesses and duties that the center does not share with the states. What does it mean? Center has given it from one hand, taken from the other. So center has increased the share by 10%, but center is levying more and more taxes that need not be shared with the states. So then the question comes, well, of course, central government is raising the taxes on petrol. What will central government do? It will only spend on the welfare of the people. Is this true again? Well, central government expenditure will be for the people also. I am not denying that. But I will give you a small comparison. The central government in September 2019 gave concessions to the corporates in the form of reduced corporate income tax. The corporate income tax was substantially reduced by around 10%. The total revenue benefit to the corporates due to reduction in the corporate tax was to the tune of 1,45,000 crores. With a single policy measure, the central government benefited big business houses to the tune of 1,45,000 crores. But in the recent economic package, the total allocation for 8 crore migrant labor was just 3,500 crores. You can refer to the Nirmala Sitharaman's press conference on the economic package. So when 8 crore migrant labor get 3,500 crores, big business houses get 1,45,000 crores. So you are squeezing the consumers. Whom are you paying? You are paying the big corporates. So this is it nothing but the robbing the Paul to pay the Peter? So you are basically exploiting the ordinary Indians and appropriating the benefits to the big business houses in the form of tax concessions. And let me also tell you another defense of the Bharatiya Janata Party. BJP repeatedly says, after we have come to power, we have repaid the oil bonds given released by the UPA government. So we are paying the debt created by the earlier Congress government. It is true that every government pays oil bonds, but they are claiming that they paid up to 1.5 lakh crore. Is it true? The figures reveal very clearly that if you look at the 2014-15 budget documents, the total outstanding in the account on oil bonds was to the tune of 1,34,000. So when Modi government came to power, it inherited a liability for on Petro on oil bonds to the tune of 1,34,000 crores. That statistics is correct. But what was the extent of oil bond maturity between 2014 and 19? It was merely 3,500 crores. So how will the government of India pay when the bond does not mature? So the Modi government paid only rupees 3,500 crore after the maturity of the concerned oil bond. Well, the government of India says we have paid 40,000 crores between 2014-18 in the form of interest on oil bonds. Yes, they have paid 40,000 crores between 2014 and 18. They have also paid around 10,000 crores subsequently also. So the totally on oil bonds, the Modi government paid an interest of rupees 50,000. We agree with that. But is this the only government which is paying? Between 2009 and 2014, UPA government also paid a interest on oil bond to the tune of 53,000 crores. In fact, 3,000 crores more. So this is a legacy which every government has to pay. And what is the extent of taxes increase? The total taxes collected up to 2018-19 itself was to the tune of 7.5 lakh crores. Subsequently, they have collected around 3-4 lakh crores. So 7.5 lakh crores plus 4 lakh crores, approximately 12 lakh crores have been collected. Assuming that even 7.5 lakh crore itself, how much they have paid on oil bonds? 40,000 plus 3,500 or 50,000 plus 3,500. So it comes up to just around 6% of the total tax collected from the petroleum prices. When out of the 100 rupees collected from the consumers in the form of petrol tax, increased petroleum taxes, you simply paid up to an interest burden and a small maturity burden of 6%. So that difference also is essentially ridiculous. So therefore, the policy of higher petroleum prices is only to meet the profligate expenditure of the central government and failure of the central government to collect resources, to mop up resources without affecting the common man, and also the inclination of the government of India to benefit the corporates. Well, government of India says we need tax concessions to incentivize investment, but did the investment come? Did the growth improve? At the time when the government of India gave corporate concessions to the tune of 1,45,000 crore, India's economic growth was around 5%. Subsequently, it declined to 4.2%. This is before Corona. After Corona, I am not finding fault with the government of India. So, your tax concession to the big business did not translate into investment and growth and employment. So, then what is the logic and defense in giving concession to the big business houses by exploiting the ordinary Indian through higher taxes on petrol and diesel? Today, the government, yet another argument is, well, this will not affect the common man. Surprising itself. I'll give you one example only. Due to increased diesel taxes, diesel prices, the cost of cultivation has increased by, estimated to increase by 1,000 rupees per acre. So, is it not increased? And in fact, the prices of higher prices of petroleum products will have a cascading effect. Well, inflation is low today because of the demand depression. There is a massive depression there is a depressive demand essentially because of economic slowdown and subsequently due to lockdown and Corona. So once the demand picks up, the higher petroleum prices will translate into higher prices of essential commodities. Forget about inflation. Inflation need not always reflect the reality of the poor and the middle class in India. So this shows that there is no logic, there is no rationale behind higher taxes on petrol and diesel.